Okay, I'm going to start again. I know that I truly have been walking around fraught with anxiety about what's going on around me, being left to figure it out with blindfolds on, to test me to see how psychic or clairvoyant I am, to prove myself, not just with singing or speaking, but my intuition. I've been put in a situation that I wouldn't wish on anybody. It was very unfair. But in spite of that, in spite of those that wanted to see me fail, that wanted to see me crumble, don't feel bad, because you succeeded in some ways. I mean, I'm not going to fail. It's not that I'm going to fail. But you did succeed in breaking my heart. So because of that, it astonishes me that anyone, after this whole plot, that you would even think that you could come back after something like that. That's confusing, because of course not. You know, there's something that we all need in our lives, which is boundaries. And those boundaries, we have every right to expect them to be respected. When you've been raised in a way where your boundaries are constantly being shattered and that you're being abused, and you become used to the behavior. And I think some of us, I think there's quite a few people that have had to grow up in those circumstances where their boundaries were not being respected. And as women especially, we kind of grow up to think that that's normal. But it isn't normal. I've never thought it was normal. Even when it was happening to me as I was growing up, there was certain things I could do and I couldn't do about it. I just knew that when it was time for me to get out of the house, I was a lot more powerful than I was when I was there, because I didn't have the same control there with domineering personalities, those that didn't know when to respect another person just for the sake of being a human being, and that you respect boundaries. And if somebody set a boundary, you stay over there. You don't just cross them, right? Well, when your boundaries are so shattered and it's coming from so many different directions, it is really frightening. You know, there's no way to say it in any other way. But there's no way I'm just going to lay down and take it, And I'm not sure why anybody ever thought that I would, because I was a real fighter growing up. I was not somebody that was a pusher. I mean, I really did fight. I was a fighter from a very young age. I had to be. I also was a prayer warrior from a very young age because of my circumstances. I don't know why anybody thought that I would just lay down and take it. The years that I went through illnesses, I went through some serious illnesses, terminal ones that I was told, that was eventually going to take my life. You can't imagine the emotional pressure. And it's not even pressure, the emotional, it's almost like you've been defeated. You've been defeated. You feel like you have, especially when you've got really trained professionals telling you how it goes and this is what's going to happen, and you have no reason not to believe them. It diminished. It seems like it just took all my hopes and my dreams and it just snatched them right out of my heart. Something changed because I felt that I, as a person, was truly defeated, and that there was truly nothing that I could do about it. I traveled. I mean, before it came back and I thought I was healed, I went to Italy, and that was amazing. It was a wonderful healing journey. But when I came back, life hit and things were tight. But after some real effort, I got back on track and on my feet. And, I really wanted to go back to Italy. It was wonderful. It was just wonderful there. But it was not even maybe 9 months later I found out from the oncologist that metastatic breast cancer had come back. And so it seemed like, okay, here I is fighting for my life, pretty much alone. My kids, of course, they want me to stay alive, but, your children, I don't know how, I think sometimes their coping mechanism is just to avoid it. And so, especially when they're younger, it's hard for them to really grasp sometimes the situation. They just would rather not talk about it or think about it because it's frightening for them, I'm sure. But when it came back, it was almost like, oh my goodness, when there was a time that when I was on, and I've told people about this before, and I don't mind sharing this miracle. I don't, because it really happened. And and I know there's others that have had experiences like this where the veil is really thin, right? Especially if you have an illness like that, it's thin. So it was in the beginning, when they were first trying to see if there was cancer anywhere else in my body, if it had traveled. And I was laying there and I was thinking about a grandfather that died in his 40s, my cousin who died at 42, another cousin that died from MS really young. And I was laying there with tears in my eyes, and I was just about to say, Heavenly Father, I don't feel like I have a right to ask you for my life, was what I was thinking. But I didn't really have the time to really say those words. I was thinking them. How dare I ask to live when I was at Huntsman, when my cousin Richard was dying from bone cancer, had actually died once, he said, and came back, and he told me what happened. And he was in so much pain. He was in a lot of pain. And when I think about that, how that he was younger than me, how unfair that was. Here I was on a PET scan table at 53, about to ask Heavenly Father for my life, and felt guilty to ask, right? But I can absolutely testify to you. And I don't mind sharing this because I want you to know. I want you to know that it's real. Before I could utter these words, it pounded in my ears. This is not your time. And everything is going to be okay. And so, all throughout the chemo and radiation, especially the chemo, because you get really sick, right? It was my mantra, this is not your time, and everything is going to be okay. As a woman, and I don't mean to cry, but I guess it's just how I'm feeling right now. As a woman, and even as a single woman, to lose your breasts, the hair is going to grow back, but still, there's a period there where you lose all your hair, you don't have any breasts, Well, they did put the expanders in there, so I did have something there, but when you go through something like that, you really do look like an alien. You look like a gray. No kidding. And it's and the makeup and wigs and all that, they help give you color and all that, but really And they've made it better to when you're taking the adriamycin, which is they call the red devil, right? It's it's rough, and I got esophagitis really badly. I got it so badly, I couldn't swallow. I mean, I was just miserable. My dad was dealing with a lot of chemo. He was going through lung cancer, and at the time that I was just finishing up with the adriamycin, and my throat was just trashed. I couldn't swallow. It was just raw from the chemo. And so I had a break with chemo because I was supposed to go from the Red Devil right over to Taxotere, which is another thing. Ugh. So anyway, I go to South Carolina because my dad's on his deathbed, and he was already pretty much in a coma. There's no way to talk to him. We talked to him, but and hoped that he could hear, but we didn't really think that he could. During the time that I was there, my throat healed a lot, and I started getting sprouts back on my head. But when I came home from the airport, everybody was at work. Nobody could pick me up, and I was just like, I had no way to get home, and that was really rough with my luggage and everything. But I came back home, and then I had to start with the Taxotere. And it gives it that name for a reason, because you tear all the time. You cry all the time. Because your eyes it makes your eyes so dry that your eyes literally just cry all the time. And it's just to me that was worse than the Red Devil. And so I had to go through, I think, another 5 sessions with Taxotere. And so this whole process, it was the same thing, this is not your time and everything's going to be okay. And I would keep saying that, right? Well, long story short, and there's definitely a lot more to the story. But eventually that ended, the Taxotere ended, and I was, I had to wait 6 weeks before beginning the radiation portion of it, which just, it sucks the life right out of you. The doctor told me, he goes, you look so young. He goes, this is going to age you a lot. Well, hopefully it didn't as much as he thought it would. But I got through all of the radiation and then began again. I mean, I'd had surgeries in the beginning, some pretty serious surgeries in the beginning. But then when it started to do the reconstruction, that was some really heavy-duty stuff. There were some really big surgeries involved there to get through. Now, it's not it's not exactly like getting a whole new set of breasts, right? It's a little bit different. There's scars involved, and they did a great job, and nowadays there's ways to make that not so less bad. Let's just put it that way. Not perfect, but less bad. But still, just when a woman, and I'm sure there's a good equivalent for a man, but when you're a woman and that's happened to you, it causes, some people, maybe some women are tougher, I don't know, but for me, I felt, and I think a lot of men too, because especially if somebody's married, I would imagine that they would feel like maybe they're diminished as a woman somehow, and you can't help but feel that way. You can't help it. And for me, it really did give me, I don't know. It made me feel self-conscious, or made me feel shy. And so maybe that's a part of the reason why I had been so shy later on down the road to get involved, because I had a friend who thoughtlessly told me, and I think I asked her, do you think that a man would ever love me again? And she goes, oh, I don't know. If it was my husband, I don't think he would. just because I had, because of breast cancer, losing my breast and getting the reconstruction. That's what she said. And so it made me, so that was, I don't know, somehow that was, she said that at a time where I was really feeling insecure anyway. And then for her to say, that she didn't think that anybody would ever want me again. Because, I was single, and that's why I asked her, do you think anyone would ever want me again, right? Well, and so maybe that is partially why, I've self-protected, right? And it takes a lot for me to actually let my feelings for somebody actually come out. And so when that does happen, it's a big deal for me. It's a huge deal. And unfortunately for me, I had shared those really tender feelings and insecurities with a real snake. Someone who did not only did they not have any capacity for compassion at all, but took that information and used it to attack me. Went to other women to make me feel more diminished, to show off. But it wasn't just to me. He did that to every woman. He would hop around to different women, try to keep the women fighting on the app, on the music app. He'd keep them fighting, keep contention going. And he loved it. All of that energy was just, they all want me. And so whenever a man that comes off with that energy, they all want me, it is an immediate and swift turn off. Now this one time, at that time, being diminished or feeling diminished as a woman, trying to muster up some understanding. That's maybe because he sees me as less than. I can understand why he wouldn't want me, right? Because of everything that I had gone through. And as I look at that situation, it makes me want to put my arms around myself and tell me how much I love me and how worthy of love I am, exactly as I am. Because of these experiences that I've had. And if anyone's ever felt diminished by a man in this way for any reason, whether it be your weight or something that you feel insecure about, then you know what I'm talking about. If they try to make you feel diminished in any way and hop around from woman to woman to make you jealous, to control you, to control your decisions and your feelings, to make you do things perhaps that you would never do because they want you to feel less than who you really are. I have been down that road, and it's a lonely place to be, to feel that way. Please excuse me, but I want you to understand that if you've ever felt that way, you can't imagine how much I understand. To know what it's like to have a womanizer or a narcissist put you in that position of making you feel like you are less and unworthy of love. So whenever I see a man that's behaving in that manner, I know exactly what they are. I know exactly what they are and what they're doing. Now, I had mentioned before, when I left the app, and after figuring out what was going on there, well, I knew what was going on there for a long time, and I'd been watching and looking around, and I didn't want to leave my friends. I wanted to still sing, but this person that was doing this to me, that was manipulating me, Odysseus, that was manipulating me, if I didn't go along with the program, him and his minions would find a way to attack me in some way, and that is true. Until finally, there's no way to argue because everybody looked up to these people. There was nothing there, there was just nothing more to do. I had to go. But instead of being able to go in freedom, no, no, no. They followed. And they continued to bully and badger and to an extreme. Hooked up with other people in the community. For all of you guys to do this, to continue to do this to somebody that had already gone through so much. Not to mention crushing my shoulder and going through COVID, just trying to make the best of the days that I had. And singing, that was it. I was singing. All I wanted to do, if I wasn't going to make it, I know that I was born to sing. I knew that for a fact. All I wanted to do was use my talent from that point on. I care about my kids, my animals, and using my talents. That's it. I wasn't bothering anyone, coming after anyone. And so the day finally comes where the Lord just wants to bless me. There's a time, I want to pause for a second, because there was a time when I lived back in Pleasant Grove. And I had I had just had surgery for my shoulder. And one of my roommates' cousins was there. And I had said something about my story to her, which I should have never done. But there is one thing I said. I know that there must be a reason why I'm still alive. Because as far as I know, I'm not supposed to be. And I'm thinking that it's to sing. I need to sing. That's got to be it. And I'd already been singing for a long time by then. Gone through my phones being hacked, my covers being deleted, people, being total jerks to me. Just, and I knew I was really talented. So I just kind of brushed it off because, I could imagine that they probably were jealous because, I'm good at what I do. But it was really no excuse. There was no excuse at all for what they did because I was so kind to every single person there. None of them had one reason to turn on me unless somebody was telling lies, right? Lying and setting me up for something. And a gift that they were trying to steal away from me. Because somebody saw in me. They saw exactly who I am and what I'm capable of. They knew it. I knew it too. Yes, there were other things that were going on that made me feel less because of what happened to me. But what happened to me is not the spirit inside of me. That isn't the person that I am. I'm a good person. But I'm also the tomboy that used to beat up the boys. And I never lost that attitude. I've always been really spunky. Yes, my lessons, my journey has made me softer around the edges. It has. But when you think you're going to die, things kind of change, don't they? Maybe for me, I just started living because I realized, I got nothing to lose. Might as well sing and be that person that God really did intend me to be. Now, of course, when I was along the way, I was singing. I was in a band when I was younger and traveled with them. It was an actual full-fledged, adult band, and I was in another band, later on in life as well. But that was not as long. But I knew my talents were, and my siblings always knew. They all knew how talented I really was. They knew. And they were jealous as sin. I remember even standing around my dad, I just started singing a song. And my youngest sister was saying, how dare you start singing that song without the rest of us? You can't sing that song to Dad without the rest of us. And it was just bizarre. I didn't realize it until, I kind of got the picture when that happened, but it was like, I'm just singing one of his songs to him. And she got really upset that I would dare to sing to my dad one of the songs that he wrote, unless everybody was around him singing at the same time. It had to be some kind of production. It couldn't be authentic or genuine or sincere, and it couldn't be just from me. Oh no, that wasn't okay. It was almost like my voice and my presence. It doesn't belong to the Richardson family. My voice belongs to me, only to me. It doesn't belong to the Richardsons. And so, but I think in their minds, they think that my talent belongs to them, and it never did. And neither does yours. They have other talents. Their talents don't belong to me. They don't belong to the clan. They have talents independent of me and everybody else. It is no different with my voice. And so it's really peculiar that they think that they own that. And they never have. Not even for a second. Or my free agency, my free will to think and do things for myself without permission. I mean, the audacity is just like bizarre. I don't get it. I'm an adult. I don't need you, you don't have to tell me what to do, okay? We're grown now. So, I don't know. It's just really strange. But I want to say something to you. And I hope you, women especially, really think about it. Remember the last time I was telling you, you shouldn't have to be doing anybody any special favors, if you know what I mean, for fame and stardom. But work your ass off and be really good at what you do. That's your job. All this other hocus pocus, all this other little, bennies that they expect to get from you, all of that, no. You should never have to do that. There's some things that are more important than fame, but I promise you something too. If you stand your ground and you keep working at it, they're not going to win. They can't win that battle ever. Not in a court of law and not in day-to-day life. They can't use you like that. Your only job is to do what you do and do it well. And there's the same kind of scenario with men. That if they can't boss you around and tell you what to do, they're going to go off and parade themselves with another woman and make you feel like you're nothing. You ain't nothing. That's what they were telling me. You ain't nothing, Treva. Pompeii, you're not that good. You ain't nothing. Well, you know what? I already knew. I'm something. I already knew that. And if there was anything I could wish for you, was to already know that you're something and that you're somebody. And if there's some guy or any person or another woman who's jealous and is, down on you, they're doing it because they're jealous. Or they're just plain mean. You don't want to know them anyway. You don't. And they don't have any power over you. Their opinions have no power. None. They can't say you're nothing and get away with that. Don't you dare let them do that. How dare they? That anybody could say to another person something like that. What have we become? What have these arrogant narcissists become doing to, people that are just doing their best, right? Okay, well, so then I listen to Machiavellianism. Fine, I can kick ass and take prisoners. You better believe I can. And I will if I have to. And there's never been a time that wasn't true. Ever. Yes, you have to get through some heartache, especially when you are so, they treated me like, I was stupid, right? Because I wasn't busy focusing on them, reading their minds. I was doing my own life, staying in my own lane, working on my own talents. I wasn't paying attention to them, and so they got away with a lot of crap because I actually wasn't concerned about them, Until Spirit came, till my grandmother came and talked to me. Not the first time, and certainly not the first visit either. And I was just saying this a few moments ago to one of the readers. I was saying, she was asking, how is it that you can just walk away from people? Didn't you ever love that person? I mean, she was asking for the person. She was saying, didn't you ever love them? And the answer would be, absolutely, yes. Until they disrespected me so many times that the mere thought of them even being around me makes me feel sick. I know that it's bad for my energy and bad for me as a person. When the betrayal is so consistent and so severe, there's a stop. There's like, no. I mean, there's a cutoff date here. You know, you can forgive, oh, they're family, oh, but you really love this. Nah. If someone, okay, I really want to highlight this. If somebody that you used to date or, you know, had a relationship with, right, deliberately goes and has sex with one of your siblings, or if it's a love interest that you had and you left them so they want to manipulate you by going to sleep with one of your family members, your child or their sibling, they're done. Just the psychology of someone being able to do something that sickening and diabolical with the intent of hurting somebody else, consider the person that they used to make you feel bad. They used one of your family members. They didn't really go to them because they really wanted to so much. They did it because they had a motive to make somebody else be upset. So not only did you get upset, they were hoping that I would get upset. And for me, my brain conceived of the how diabolical. I mean, there wasn't even a hesitation. It was like, oh, this is a monster. There was never even a moment of jealousy. And before I even found anything about that out, you know, I remember thinking about the time that I left the app. And they also, maybe that's another time, I don't know. When they brought in the cameras, they brought in these parlor lights. I had told some people, because we're spiritual people, and I'm in a faith that definitely would believe in something like that. They should, because they call them ministering angels. People that have died, the religion I'm in would call them ministering angels, people that have lived but have passed on. They're still guarding and looking out for their family members, right? That is not a new thing. However, in my case, they wanted to make it like it was this really strange thing, and they wanted to make fun of it. And so when they brought the cameras in, they brought in parlor lights to flicker, so that I would think that spirits were there and they were flickering. I remember showing the flickering lights to one of the readers, you know, and thinking, no, I mean, it was just too much. It was flashing too much, right? But it was after I had said that my grandmother Marcella had come to warn me, and she did. Oh boy. And George was there too, actually. Very definitely warning me. That there was something going on, that I was under attack. And I already knew, because of the behaviors of others. I already had kind of an idea with the way that people were behaving around me. And so, and also, you know, with all the history with Star Maker and everything that happened, and just walking away from them, my grandmother asked me, that had passed on, she asked me, why do you love that person? And that's a really good question. If there's somebody that's not reciprocating, that you think that you're in love with, you might want to try this exercise. So I sat there and I thought about it. She said, what is it that person, what are they doing that makes you love them? What are they doing that makes you love them? Well, nothing. Nothing at all. And they're cute just isn't enough. I mean, cute has never been enough. Good looking has never, for me, been enough. There always had to be just a little bit more. That's what they call dating until you figure that out, right? And so I thought, this guy, I mean, and I knew it already. And he had this like a ridiculous attachment that, so even when I tried to walk away, I wanted to stay on the app to be with my friends, but I realized finally there was no way to do that. I had to get away from that energy permanently. And when the question is posed to you and you just sit there and think about it, make a list if you need to. What has that person done for you, with you? In what way have they given any kind of actual love to you? It's different than being attracted. You know, we can all have sometimes even instant attraction to people. We can even have like something that connects us somehow. But when you ask yourself, what are they actually doing that's worthy of you loving them? And it was clear. It was like confirmation of what I knew, that they were doing absolutely nothing to earn my love. Absolutely nothing. Why would I give my love to somebody, first of all, that wouldn't even let me really get to know them? Right? They keep you in perpetual hope that something's about to happen or it's going to happen. They're coming or they're not, you know what I mean? Or you know what I mean? It's just, and then if you don't go along with the program, then they throw another woman in your face. And it was just going on. It was repeating it over and over again. And then you finally figure out, I've had enough. I'm exhausted. I'm exhausted. I don't care, you know. You're full of shit. Just move on. and it really, you know, and it's more than just losing attraction. It's respect. It's like respect, and all of a sudden you start seeing them as like something really that's not really emanating anything bright or honest or good. It's all deceit and manipulation just to lure you in and to make you feel something based off of attraction. Nothing that's real. No one that you can count on. You can never count on them. And you know, if there was anything that I could say could help you get away from somebody like that, oh, believe me, I would. Because they're not worth it. And it's and so many women, we all, and you know, all of us get cornered in these little traps where men can do this to us because for whatever reason. But I've never really needed to be with a man. I've wanted to be with a man very, very much. But there's never been a real time I can even remember that I just had to be with one. Which brings me up to another important question. After each, it's not even just a question, it's just an observation. After any of my relationships would end, I wouldn't just take I would date and stuff in between, but there were often, always years really in between each one because, you know, I didn't really want to carry all the bad stuff that I got from that guy to the next one, right? I mean, I really took my time. And because breaking up and love can be extremely painful, it's not something for me that I find very exciting if it's, you know, it's risky. Let's just put it this way. When you're younger, you know, you want to take those chances a little more. I think as you get older, you think like, I don't know. I've been down that road. But, and I kind of like that. And it's not like I can close that flip. I'm not. It's just that, you know, because of the kind of people that have been in my life and around me and the experiences that I've had, all I know is that I need something completely different than what I've ever had before. Somebody that's mature, that doesn't play women, you know what I mean? You can count on them. They're not out there playing the field just to, and it doesn't mean that they can't date other people, especially in the beginning, right? As long as they're not misleading anybody and, what you're getting into. But, if it's all intended to make you feel jealous and to pull some negative and hurtful feelings out of you, then you know that you're definitely with a player. But I would like to pray and believe that there's not everybody that's a player. But I protect your love. Your love is not for free. That's the first thing I would say. But the thing that I think that really has impressed upon my mind, really more than once for a long period of time, is that I'm sure that pornography has a lot to do with this. But there are men out there that don't seem to be able to take that break in between their relationships and to really heal from them. Instead of really doing that, if they have feelings for somebody, it's almost like they would rather run from the pain and just jump into bed with somebody else. Find somebody that will go along with that, right? And I don't care what faith you're in. Believe me, even in the singles ward in the church I was in, it really. And so they don't take the time to heal. And for all you know, as the new person, they could be still involved with that person back there. And I've talked about this before. They could go back there and come over to you and, whoever they can puppeteer the best wins, right? Whoever's the most stupid will win. I've been there, done that. I've played the stupid girl. Is it always stupid girls end up marrying the guy that they end up having to divorce? I don't know, probably. Did that. So, well, I'm taking off the dunce cap. I'm not going to put it back on. I'm done playing that game. But I do feel like, whether it's sex addiction or whatever the problem is, with men jumping from one person to the next, is also a clear sign of somebody that is emotionally immature. They're not really doing the work. They're not trying to heal themselves before going to the next woman. And it does affect your next relationship, on and on and on. And they know that that there's enough women out there that, want to get a guy bad enough that they're going to find somebody. But you've been warned. And if I want to know that there's a guy that can be fine on his own, that really can operate and take his time, and that doesn't need to manipulate women in order to feel like he's the big man, that they can feel like a big man all by themselves, that they're not playing people, that they're in it for something real. If they get involved, then it's going to be something that they really want to invest in. And they're not going to be able to invest if they're just hopping to different people all the time, manipulating different people, getting women to fight or cry. Believe it or not, these narcissists, they love seeing women cry. And they love seeing them fight over each other. And I have seen this in my life so much that I don't care to ever see it again. Don't care. Don't want to see it. You do it, you're gone. And I'm not being, that's just the way it should be. We should not be tolerating men like this. We should not be tolerating men that treat us this way, ever. No. Won't be doing that again. I'm not desperate. I never was desperate. But I'm really not desperate now. Because I'm really I'm done with that. I'm just saying, to each his own, but you should really consider your own value as a woman, and that no man should be going out there parading other women in front of you to make you beg him back. Don't beg him back. If somebody has left you for somebody else, you wish him goodbye. Period. And the one that I was with, he was a cheat. And he still wonders why. Oh, and that was just one of the reasons. There was just so many reasons. So, I am giving you love. I'm giving you the kind of love that you need. The tough love that you need to finally draw that line in the sand yourselves and not put up with someone treating you like that, puppeteering you. And it could be a woman. A woman could do that to a guy too. If they want to do that, goodbye. You don't have time. I don't care how you feel about him. You'll get over it. Let him go. I promise you'll be so glad you did. You'll just sit there and you'll ask yourself what my grandmother Marcella asked me. What are they doing for you that makes you love them? What do they do? Really do? And no, they're good in bed. No, that doesn't work. I like the way they press my shirts. Oh, come on. And even being a parent or a mother of your child, or the father of your child, and they're treating you like that, is still because you're teaching your children how to behave exactly like that. What do you tolerate in your relationships? Well, this is why I'm alone. Because until I find somebody who is mature enough to not play those games, that really has a mature outlook on relationships and how to conduct themselves as an adult, and maybe I'll never find that. But you know what? If I don't, that's really okay. Because I'm not crying my eyes out over a guy, I feel so much better. That's nice. That's freedom, baby. It really is. And it's liberating. No, I've let myself fall in love with the wrong guy again. Didn't think I'd do that before. Did it again with a real humdinger too, if you want to say it that way. A real cruel one that took me after an illness when I confided in him. Took that information to destroy me. And I really thought I loved him. Do you see my point? Never coming back to me, baby. Never. I never want to see that person again. Ever. And I feel really good about it. I'm just so glad that all of that can be behind me. We deserve to have people in our lives that really show us at least respect until they have that love, until they fall in love. To show us that consideration and respect, and to treat us like we deserve to be treated. And I'm not accepting anything less, ever. Thank you for listening to me. I am wonderful, just the way I am. I'm a beautiful, vibrant, talented woman. And I will never allow my own emotions to make me feel I'm diminished because of something that was completely out of my control. I am very much worth loving. And I love me enough to say goodbye to the manipulators in my life permanently. It's just not worth that. Their energy is just, I can feel it just sucks your energy out when they're trying to be better than you. And when you're forced to be around somebody that acts like they're better than you all the time, it just gets, you just don't want to anymore. It's just, you're just done. Bye. I wish you a beautiful day. And I hope there's anything that I've said that's inspired you to really think about that, because this is how I honestly feel. And it's not because I'm harsh or cold. It's just that I love me and I just don't have the time anymore. Every moment counts. These are my moments and I'm going to make them good. I don't care what y'all are doing. I'm going to make my moments very good.